welcome her very warmly from San Diego, Millan.
Thank you so much for attending this. And I was dating a weightlifter, a bodybuilder at the time, and he built me a wheel to flatten my abdominal muscle. And this is a wheel that you would roll and on your knees, and it would harden your abdominal muscle. I did that religiously for 3 months. And after 3 months, my abdominal muscle was hard as a rock, but it still protruded. That was in the 1970s. Someone told me about cleansing the inside of my body, and I thought, that sounds so strange, you know. And I was, what, 29 at the time. So I did it. I took the cleansing herbs, and I did juices, and I did enemas. I didn't know anything about colonics at the time. I did that for 5 days, and I was absolutely shocked when I saw what came out of my body. And it was a new awakening for me. It was a turning point in my life. And I thought to myself, if I have this in me, I'm sure other people do as well. And why didn't anybody ever tell me about this cleansing and what I saw come out of my body? I couldn't believe it. So I went to the health food store, I went to the library, trying to find a book on cleansing. I couldn't find anything. And I found one book called Become Younger by Dr. Norman Walker. Now, Dr. Norman Walker lived to be 118 years old. We documented that about 5 years ago. He advocated colon therapy every single day if you had any specific conditions, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. And so then I went to school, and I became very interested in nutrition, and went to Arizona Holistic Institute, became a certified colon therapist in 1981, and I worked under the direction of a medical doctor in 1982, and that's how I got my start. And what I discovered was, when I was doing these cleansing sessions with people with all kinds of conditions, they would write me these letters, or they would tell me about how they got better and how they got improved in their condition. Some of them were completely in remission, and everything from high blood pressure to diabetes to asthma to cancer, arthritis, you name it. And I collected over these years 96 testimonials that are spread throughout my book. And they will encourage you, because no one ever said that internal cleansing could benefit. Of course, you have to understand, medical doctors do not approve of colon hydrotherapy as a general rule. But medical doctors did colon hydrotherapy up until the late 50s. So my book is the first book ever written about professional colon hydrotherapy as we know it today. Colon hydrotherapy is nothing new. Hippocrates, the father of the first medical doctor, recommended colon hydrotherapy in cleansing the intestines. And so it's nothing new. It's been around for thousands of years. And but what we're learning today, more than ever, we're in a very toxic environment, extremely toxic environment today more than ever. There are over 200 million tons of hazardous pollutants that have been already dumped into our atmosphere. So we're breathing toxic air. And I'm sure in Pennsylvania you have some toxicity in the air here. I know we do in California. From California, right? Well, sorry about that. But I got some good news. But anyway, so now what is happening, there's a trend that's taking place, and we're seeing people more open to hear about cleansing. Now, you know, they have always said colon hydrotherapy or colonics, and I'm choosing to use the name internal cleansing, because when we talk about the digestive system or elimination, you have a cultural attitude in this society that we live in. People do not want to talk about elimination. They don't want to talk about the lower digestive system of the body. They will talk about the food that they're eating, but not when the food comes out. Remember, from the mouth to the anus is all one organ. Everything that goes into your mouth should come out of your body. However, it doesn't. Now, there's 4 steps to perfect health. Number 1 and most important is diet. Number 2 is cleansing. Number 3 is exercise, and number 4 is phytonutrients. And I'm just going to say phytonutrients, because 1 to 5% of the vitamin tablets and mineral tablets that you are ingesting actually gets assimilated into your body and broken down. So kind of keep that in mind. The average American has between 5 and 15 pounds of waste in their colons. Now, when you see those pot bellies, do they have pot bellies in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Butler? No, we do in California. So when you see those pot bellies, granted some of that's fat, however, a lot of it is impacted waste that's tucked away in the pockets of the colon. And so people choose not to discuss the lower digestive system of the body. I believe, and this is not always true, you know, over 2,000 years ago, you've heard about the Roman Empire having bathhouses. You've heard of that. Well, did you know that they also had social toilets? I was in Ephesus, and I saw the boards with the holes in it, and where they would go and sit down and eliminate and have a time of discussion of current events while they were defecating. And, you know, we would never think of doing that here in our culture. How come? Why has it changed? I theorize that it's because it's odoriferous. That's what I feel. And you see, the diets have changed today. 2,000 years ago, they didn't eat meat every day. They didn't eat chicken and fish every single day. They ate those foods during times of festivities, right? And those foods cause a lot of odor, body odor in the body. So when a person eliminated, back then, I don't believe it was as odoriferous as it was. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something really funny. The Japanese had a sport that they did, and now you know the sport in the United States is football and baseball. Well, during the early years of the Japanese empire, their sport was flatulence. Whoever passed gas the loudest, we were the champions. And this is true. This isn't me saying this. This is true. So, you know, I mean, it couldn't have been offensive in odor because they sure wouldn't have that as a national sport, would they? So, something to think about. But you know what's happening is it's changing. The attitudes are changing today. People are more open to hear about cleansing. Why? Because of the results, you see. The proof is in the results. When people start to cleanse the body, they start to feel better. They start to look better. They start to act better. And they get more optimistic. And their health is improved dramatically. Their immune system is increased. Their body can better assimilate nutrients. And of course, most importantly, is that they have energy, you see. So we're seeing more and more of that. And the celebrities are contributing to this attitude as well, because many, many celebrities, a lot of them are doing internal cleansing. As a matter of fact, when they had the Academy Awards not too long ago, they interviewed the one celebrity, and I don't remember her name, but they interviewed her and asked her what she did to prepare for the Academy Awards. They wore these beautiful gowns, expensive jewelry, and so forth. And she said, I did internal cleansing. So it's becoming more and more open and acceptable in this culture that we're living in. You know, before the flood, man lived to be up to 960 years old, didn't he? If you know anything about the Old Testament, that's what they said. After the flood, man's lifespan dropped down to 250 years. And of course, today the lifespan is 74 years old. Why do you suppose that's the case? The diet. Exactly, the diet. Prior to the flood, man did not eat animal. After the flood, during the flood, they had to eat animal because everything was under the water. So they acquired a taste for animal. And I'm talking, when I lump animal, I'm lumping all of it. I'm talking fish, chicken, eggs, and meat, pork, lamb, etc. So the lifespan today, now people will say to me, but Millan, people are living longer than they did 100 years ago. And I say and respond, yes, you're right. The 1800s, the lifespan was 55 years old. Today it's 74 years old. Why is that? Well, people are living longer. However, they're living longer sicker, you see. And do you want to grow old, a sick old person? I don't. That's never been God's plan for us. His plan was for us to grow old, vibrant, healthy, with the knowledge and wisdom that we have that we can pass on to our children and our grandchildren. His plan for us was to be a blessing. And I don't want to be the kind of old person that my grandchildren come sit down and say, I'm going to sit next to Grammy because she smells. You know, it has happened. It has happened. And I don't want to be the kind of old person that I can't wipe myself, or don't remember if it's time to take a bath, or if I took a bath or I didn't take a bath, because I have dementia or I have Alzheimer's. And all of that's toxicity in the body, you see. Death and disease are a result of a toxic body, said Dr. Norman Walker, who lived to be 118 years old. Listen, I will listen to someone that has lived to be 118 years old. When they speak, I will listen, because I want to know what they did. And this man, not only did he live, he practiced what he preached. The same thing with V.E. Irons and Bernard Jensen. These people lived ripe old ages. And Christopher, I don't know if you know these people or not, but they lived ripe old ages because they practiced cleansing and alternative health. So I want to be a kind of person, not only am I going to talk the talk, but I'm going to walk the walk. So I'm very, very careful with what I put into my body. I'm not always squeaky clean, but as a general rule, I'm very careful with what I put into my body. You see, one of the wonderful things, not very many, but one of the wonderful things about getting older, is that you can say, been there, done that, right? Well, let me tell you something. I have been there, done that. I have remembered a time when I was so addicted to white flour, white sugar, and I was overweight. I was carrying excess weight on me, and I was out of control with my cravings for sugar. Get up at 8 o'clock at night and run down to 7-Eleven and buy me a Snicker bars because I couldn't stand it any longer. I had to have that sugar in my body. My mother's a diabetic. My father's a diabetic. My sister's a diabetic. My 2 brothers are diabetics. I have an aunt that's a diabetic. And you know what? I'm going to be 65. I was born December 5th, 1939. And I'm here to tell you I'm not a diabetic. So you don't have to be what your parents were. So don't blame it on the genes. My mother died at 68 years old. She had cancer. She was full-blown diabetic. At 68 years old, she died of kidney failure. She took 13 prescription drugs. She was terribly obese. She was 250 pounds when she died. My father was 72 years old when he died. He died of colon cancer. And he also was diabetic. So people say, well, Millan, it's because of your genes. Not so. My grandmother died at 52. So I'm here to tell you that I don't have those great genes that they talk about. But when I say been there, done that, I'm talking about the fact that I have eaten incorrectly in years past, and I know what it's like to be addicted. If you've never had an addiction in your life, you're really a blessed person. But I don't care what kind of addiction we're talking about, whether you're addicted to animal, or you're addicted to white flour, white sugar, you're addicted to marijuana, heroin, alcohol, whatever it may be. To be out of control with that addiction is the most horrible feeling. I remember crying, tears streaming down my face because I was desperate to break this addiction of wanting the white flour and white sugar. And let me tell you how I broke it. I discovered this myself. I took a box of raisins.